Welcome everyone so far. We're possibly going to be joined by Wat Bhutanaswaran this evening. So we'll give a few minutes before we actually start. The last Tuesday of the month, the Wat joins us, but we're not sure if they will. So welcome. And if they do arrive, we'll start with a little bit of chanting. And you're welcome to join in. We're also waiting to see if our Aranya Bodhi is able to join with the weather and power outage and all these kind of things that are...
They have very little power, so they may not be.
Yeah, so they may not be able to join us, so... we'll just see what happens. I'll wait just another few minutes. It's right at 7, so I'm thinking that Wat Bhutanaswaran won't be joining us.
Let's get the spotlight.
Oh, I see Dee and Dee Dee and Richard. So, at least we have a few members from the Wat, but I don't see Wat Bhutanaswaran. So I don't see them. There they are. Okay. I'll just wait a few more minutes. There's Richard from, he's in the Fremont area and associated with Wat Bhutanaswaran. Richard, do you happen to know if Wat Bhutanaswaran will be joining or not, or if they are unable to join for some reason?
I didn't hear anything. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Okay. Yes, I didn't hear anything, and my wife reminded me that at this time of year, the Wat puts on a retreat for usually elderly Thai ladies.
Okay.
So we usually don't have a class that particular week.
Okay, so thank you for that information, Richard. So then
They didn't send out the usual email. They didn't send out the usual email that tells us, who's going to be the teacher and that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. Maybe people. So I just thought to myself, oh, I think your temple has a class anyways. So that's why I logged on here myself. But,
so welcome. I'm glad you joined, even if the Wat is not joining us tonight. And thank you for that information. I didn't. Yeah. So we'll just proceed then, as we usually do. We don't usually have a chanting at the start. We just start with the guided meditation. So I'll just start with that. So we'll have a short guided meditation, and then we'll start in with the... I'm going to just have to adjust my position, excuse me. I was all poised for doing some bowing, but now I'm a little bit more positioned for meditation. So getting ourselves into a posture, a seated posture, if we're able to maintain a sitting posture for 30 minutes. And it's okay to move slightly if we, start feeling some kind of extreme discomfort. I mean, just a little bit of discomfort we can tolerate, unless we know our bodies and know what's harmful. Just be attuned to the body, taking care of the body, but not allow the sensations to kind of disturb our meditation, if possible. Just allow for stability, stability and care as much as possible, a balance. So if you've been meditating for a while, you can tell like something is just a slight discomfort, we can just ignore. But if it's some signal to us that we're harming our bodies, then certainly we should care for that and adjust. So putting ourselves in as upright position as possible. If you need the support of a chair, then that's fine. If you can sit cross-legged on a cushion, that's good. But something to give you a real sense of stability and support and uprightness, alertness. And if you're not able to sit up, then that's okay too. Whatever is supportive to the body, whatever your ability is. So sensing the body, sensing what's supporting the body. Feeling the support at the base if we're sitting up. The feet on the floor if we're in a chair. The contact of the legs and the buttocks against what's supporting them. And then gradually bringing the awareness, starting with the feet upwards. Over the legs. You might feel the contact of your arms or your hands against your legs. Or your lap if you're in a chair. And sensing the buttocks, the hips, the abdomen, whole lower area of the body. You might feel the expanding and contracting of the abdomen, sides of the body, kind of an uplifting feeling. Rising and falling. And the expansion of the chest, all the way around to the back. And all the way up the back and the top of the chest, sensing the sides of the body too. You might feel the touch of the arms against the sides of the body. Shoulders. And then down the arms. Again, sensing the contact of the arms against the other parts of the body that's making contact to. And then really allowing the hands to be at ease. Bringing the awareness up the arms all the way to the shoulders again. Might be checking the alignment of the body as you're sweeping upwards like this. The neck. And over the back of the head and the sides of the head. All the way up to the top of the head. Just inviting ease and comfort. A cascade over the body, starting with the top of the head. Allowing the forehead to relax, just inviting, not forcing anything. The eyes closed, lightly. Inviting the muscles around the eyes to relax. And anywhere there's tension, just give it your kind, caring attention. Not forcing anything. And the jaws. Lips lightly touching, the teeth lightly touching, and the tongue just occupying the mouth at rest. You might sense the breath moving in through the nostrils. And chin. And again downward over the neck. Just a gentle invitation to be at ease, to let go of the tension, any tension sensed anywhere. And again, sensing the arms, sensing the contact of the torso against the arms, expanding and contracting of the torso. Up to the top of to the shoulders, to the top of the chest. Sensing the expanding and contracting of the chest, the abdomen. Just allowing the breath to be at its natural rhythm. At this point, if you care to remain with the breath, you can bring your attention to one part of the breath cycle, or just being aware of this flow of the breath throughout the body. Or if you care to continue sweeping the body, going all the way down to the feet and back up again. That's fine. And whether you're following the breath or the flow of the sweeping of the entire body, it's natural for thoughts, emotions to arise. Just observe that with awareness. And kindly bring the attention back to the object of meditation. And we'll continue in silence for another 13 minutes. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammam Sangham Namasami. So welcome everyone, and those who have just joined us more recently. And today, this evening, I wanted to talk about the Kalyanamitta. There's a couple of suttas I wanted to talk about that mentions this term, that has this term as kind of a really important aspect of the teaching. And I also wanted to share some news. Christmas Eve, some of us were called into the abbess's room. Ayatata had called us in, and she gave us this news that in Sri Lanka there was a gathering happening of 5,000 bhikkhunis. And I looked at the news, there's 5,000 bhikkhunis and 1,000 bhikkhus. So if the 5,000 male, 5,000 female monastics and 1,000 male monastics. But the news, when I looked on the internet, had it inverted so that it was a 5,000 bhikkhus in the headlines. And then when I looked at the article down below, the bhikkhu who was giving the information said 5,000 bhikkhunis, 1,000 bhikkhus. And they were gathering because they had just uncovered, there's a stupa or chaitya for Arhat Anula Tisa Terry, and she was the first Arhat in Sri Lanka. And if you have been following Dhammadharini, we've been celebrating Sanghamitta Terry's arrival in Sri Lanka and her bringing the bhikkhuni order to Sri Lanka. But Mahinda Thera, who was the brother of Sanghamitta, was there first and gave the teaching to Anula Terry. And so because of her desire to ordain, his sister Sanghamitta Terry was invited. So then, so there is a stupa erected after she had, that Anula Tisa Terry had, after she had passed away, and I'm imagining her crematory remains were, they found a crypt or a box, and I guess they found the dhatu, the relics, and some other artifacts. And so these were unearthed in the recently, and so there was an invitation to the bhikkhunis to all converge, and the bhikkhus also to honor this great arhat, the first arhat of Sri Lanka. There was of a native of Sri Lanka. So so that was pretty exciting. I saw some photographs of the gathering, this convergence of monastics. And so this is actually kind of related to what my topic, because of the Venerable Mahinda Thera and his sister Sanghamitta Theri, Anula Tisa Theri was able to become an arahant. So hearing the teachings of Mahinda Thera, Mahinda had taught from the discourses of the Buddha, and so she attained stream entry, listening to these teachings. And then after Sanghamitta Theri had come to Sri Lanka and she received full ordination in, it says, not too long of time, something of that order, not too long time, she attained arahantship and became the first arahant recorded in Sri Lanka. So it was a big celebration, a big gathering to honor her. That happened a couple of days ago. It's hard to say because it was the 26th in Sri Lanka, so I think it was the eve of the 26th, or actually part of it was starting in Christmas Day. So that's exciting news for to think about 5,000 bhikkhunis. There was from all over Sri Lanka and some other parts of Asia, and then and the Mahayana bhikkhunis also joined in the celebration. So this is also representative of Kalyanamitta because we're supporting one another on the path, and this kind of inspiration, this brings up faith or devotion, confidence in the teachings, to know that the teachings can bear fruit like this by being with people who are knowledgeable on the path, can support our practice. So what inspired me to talk about Kalyanamitta is our sutta discussion last Sunday. And we had talked about a particular sutta, what we read from and discussed a particular sutta. And it's the Upadhi. This is Upada? I think it's Upada. I have the notes here, so excuse me for shuffling around. And that's in the Samyutta Nikaya's number 45-2, if you want to look it up. And it's Upada Sutta. And Upada means half. And this is a pretty well-known sutta when we're talking about the Kalyanamitta. Many of you may be familiar with this, where Venerable Ananda comes to, the Blessed One comes to the Lord Buddha. And it says in the commentaries he was meditating, and it occurred to him during his meditation that our good companions in the holy life, our good friends in the holy life, are half of the holy life. And the other half is, I guess, our own effort that we put into it. So Venerable Ananda approaches the Lord Buddha and says to the Lord Buddha, "Venerable Sir, spiritual companions, good friends, good companions are the half of the holy life." And then the Lord Buddha says, "Not so, not so, Ananda. they're the whole of the holy life. So then the Lord Buddha goes on to explain how that's so, in that terms of the fact that if we have good friends and good companions, good associates, Ajahn Nisro says, admirable friends, admirable companions, admirable associates. That's a good way of thinking about it. Someone that you admire, someone who's a good influence on you, someone who's inspiring to you. If you can imagine being in the presence of an arhat, like Anula Devi, before she was became a bhikkhuni, she was a queen, and she gave up all her wealth and royal status to become a bhikkhuni. Because she heard the teachings, because she was inspired by somebody who was probably just an amazing presence to be around. So this is our good friendship. So the Lord Buddha explained to Ananda how if one is in association with good friends, with admirable friends, has good companions, good associates, then one will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. In this particular sutta, it's in the Magga Samyutta, and so he says how the influence of other good companions, admirable friends, admirable companions, how having this influence, having these companions will help us in the development and cultivation of the path. So I won't go too much into detail about that particular sutta. That sutta goes path factor by path factor, and how seclusion and fading away, or it's various terms, how the path develops into release, to freedom. It just touches on that, as the Samyutta Nikaya doesn't get into so many details, but it does go through each path factor. But what I really wanted to speak about is how, one of the things I wanted to look at is, how is it that it is the whole of the holy life? So why isn't it, half of it's our own effort, and half of it is who we associate with, who our good friends are in the holy life? Why is that? And so I've been pondering that. Someone said also, because there's if seclusion is also a part of this, which helps our development. That does sound like, okay, we're with friends for a while, we're with our spiritual companions for a while, and then we go off into seclusion. But so, wouldn't that seem kind of like half and half in a way? But if we didn't have the teaching, the sutta ends actually that the Lord Buddha says that he was your spiritual companion. He was that good friend, good companion. That was another way of understanding it. So without the teachings, if the Lord Buddha hadn't given us these teachings, if these teachings weren't passed down to us, then this particular path would not be available to us. But also, if we didn't hear them in the first place from Kalyanamitta, then it wouldn't be possible for us. So so then it's still like, oh, well, then we have to apply ourselves to the practice, don't we? Isn't there that part? I mean, it is says to be experienced individually by the wise, that we need to, apply ourselves to the practice. We're not just passive. There is some effort that we need to make. And so how is that? So I was contemplating this. And then it occurred to me, then there's this, if maybe the reason why the Lord Buddha said this to Venerable Ananda is that he was thinking, I'm applying myself, and then I associate with my friends. And there's this kind of dichotomy or separation or something like that. And then there's this sense of self doing it. Or I go on to the internet and I get these teachings, and I listen, go on retreat, and then I'm doing this. So there's this atta, the self, this doing it. But actually it's a process. If you think of non-self, there isn't this self doing it. It's a process that got started by this influence of the teaching, by this influence of people we're around that inspire us, by by really delving ourselves into the teaching. We're letting go of this concept, this clinging to this idea, this erroneous view of self, and then it's the whole of it. It's not a separate. It's an integrated process, and we're just these five khandhas are just in the mix of the process that brings us to awakening. And another thing that's been pointed out is that, the spiritual companions, if we don't have these spiritual companions, it's easy for us to not see our shortcomings, not see the difficulties we're having, the clinging to the self, this attachment to self. So it's just reinforcing a sense of self of we think we're doing it, and we don't see our clinging, we don't see how we're going astray, how we're any of our unwholesome behavior that's obvious to others and not to ourselves. So that's the rocks in the stream bumping up against one another and smoothing out the rough spots. So all of that is the whole of the holy life. We're not just isolated in the world, and we're not separate from the world, and who we associate really shapes us. Who we associate with really shapes us. So it's important to find admirable friends and companions. So another sutta I wanted to talk about, which has this word Kalyanamitta. It actually has the same words of Kalyanamitta, and there's several other Pali terms for the spiritual friend, spiritual companion, and the associates. I don't have all three of them written down, so I don't have it all memorized. So, but so this is a Megha Sutta, and that sutta is in the Udana, and it's in the 4th chapter, and it's the first sutta, because the chapter is the Megha Sutta. So if you have access to the Udana, you can find it there. And it's also in the numerical discourses, the Anguttara Nikaya. And see if I have the number, it's in the 9s, and it's number 3. So it's AN 9-3. And this one doesn't have the verse at the end. And I don't have the verse with me, so I'm not going to recite the verse at the end of this. But I will tell the story. I love this story. So it's a story of Megha, and he's the Lord Buddha's attendant. And one morning he asked permission from the Buddha to go on alms round, I guess by himself. And the Lord Buddha says, go ahead. So they're in a town. Let's see if I have it. Kimakali. No, that's the river. It's Jantu. There's a village, Jantu. So he goes to this village. He goes on alms round, and on the way back, he walks past the Kimakali River. He's on the banks of the Kimakali River, and then he sees this beautiful, lovely, delightful mango grove. And the thought occurs to him, oh, that looks like a wonderful place for striving or meditation. So he goes to the Lord Buddha, and he says, oh, Lord, I've seen this beautiful mango grove, and I think it's just this great place to go and strive. Would you allow me to go? And the Lord Buddha says, well, we're alone now. Why don't you wait until another bhikkhu comes? And then Megha starts insisting, oh, but Lord, I really want to go there. He doesn't say this, I'm paraphrasing, but for 3 times he says, please allow me to go and strive in this lovely, delightful mango grove. And then the Lord Buddha keeps saying, well, we're alone now. Why don't you wait till another bhikkhu comes? And then finally, at the 3rd request by Megha, the Lord Buddha says, well, and then Megha adds to this request, oh Lord, you've already done what needed to be done in the holy life, but I haven't. I still have work to do. Please allow me to go strive in this delightful, lovely mango grove. And then the Lord Buddha says, well, as you're talking about striving, and Bhikkhu Bodhi says meditation. And I looked up the word Padana is also and if I kept searching, I did find concentration, which when they have the translation of concentration, you think that they probably mean samadhi. So he was requesting to go and meditate or strive, and the Buddha says, well, since you're talking about this, what can I say? So you can go at your convenience. And then he's like, then making it says, face circumambulates the Buddha, bows out, takes off, goes to the mango grove, and he's sitting in the mango grove, and what happens? He starts being obsessed by thoughts of sensual desire, harming, cruelty, and let's see, and anger or ill will. I don't know. It says sensual, harmful, and cruel thoughts, is how Bhante Sujato translated it. So he gets overwhelmed by unwholesome mental states while he's sitting there in this lovely, delightful mango grove. So it sounds like a perfect place to go, but still his mind is like overwhelmed by these thoughts, and he's like, "Oh my goodness!" I'm just paraphrasing. It's not literally what's in the sutta, but so it's just, this is amazing. This is how is it that, this is, I've gone forth into holy life as wishing for liberation, and here I'm overwhelmed by these unwholesome mental states. So he goes back to the Lord Buddha and reports this whole thing to the Lord Buddha. And what's really beautiful about this is that, it's kind of like the Lord Buddha could have said, "Well, I told you so." Like, you were here with me, and why are you going off, you're not ready yet, so he says, the Lord Buddha says, there are 5 things for one who still hasn't had maturation in the path. 5 things that lead to maturation or ripening of the mind and liberation of the mind or the heart. And so the first thing is our Kalyanamitas, is that we have good friends, good companions, good associates on the path. This is the very first thing. And the second thing is that one is ethical. And then according to for the monastics, they're keeping the monastic code well. I won't go there. There's a lot of detail that I won't mention here. And then the third thing is to be able to hear teachings, to hear talk. And this goes into a lot of detail. Talk about the Astura life, although Bhante Sujato says about effacement, and I didn't quite see that in the translation, but I guess a certain amount of humility, not aggrandizing ourselves, that you're able to hear talk that opens the heart, leading to awakening. I'm just paraphrasing things here a little bit to make it more simple to take in. And it has to do with fewness of wishes, contentment, seclusion. So talk about these things, about energy and ethics and samadhi and wisdom and knowledge, the wisdom of freedom. So I just wrote down a few things. It's quite involved, actually, what the monastics or someone would be talking about. That they would overhear the talk from the Kalyanamitas, this talk that leads to the liberation, to the maturing of our hearts and minds and leading to liberation, basically. So that's conducive to that. So that ability to hear this kind of conversation or talks. And Bhante Sujato says, participating in this. And so hearing or participating in this talk. And then a bhikkhu would arouse, or anyone, bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, lay disciple would arouse energy to abandon unwholesome qualities and to develop the wholesome qualities. I'm just simplifying what's in the sutta. And then the fifth quality would be that the person, the bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, lay disciple, is wise and has the wisdom that discerns the arising and passing away, and that leads to the destruction of dukkha or suffering, and it's noble and penetrative. So, and then the Buddha further goes on to say that it's to be expected if someone, a bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, lay disciple, it can be expected of him or her to have these qualities, to be ethical. If they have good friends, if they have good friends and good companions and good associates, admirable friends, admirable associates, it's expected of them that they would be ethical. They have this influence to support their ethical conduct. And they would be able to hear the Dhamma, they would be able to hear these teachings that are leading to the maturation of the heart, the opening of the heart. And they would arouse, if they have these friends, they would be inspired to arouse this energy to abandon the unwholesome and to develop the wholesome qualities. And if they did have these admirable friends, then they would also have this wisdom that was penetrative, this wisdom that was discerning the arising and passing away of phenomena that led to the destruction of suffering. So the Kalyanamitta being the whole of the holy life, because this is a support to all these aspects that lead to the maturation of the heart, to the freedom, to the knowledge and wisdom. So this is only a kind of a section of this Megha Sutta, which is a very beautiful sutta, and I'm not including the whole of it. He does continue the teaching, but if you'd like to read more about it, you can look it up. But that's the aspect of the Kalyanamitta that I wanted to touch on, and the importance of having admirable or good associates on the path, somebody we can really look up to, somebody that we can respect, somebody that's really good influence on us. And I know the Kalyanamitta, sometimes it just, I guess in lay groups I've heard it used kind of more loosely, just that you have friends that you go and meditate and discuss the Dhamma with, and I don't know, maybe they're really good, hopefully they're really good influences on you, and some of them may have the wisdom to help you along the way. I think it's referring more of a teacher. The Kalyanamitta is someone who would be really helping us to further on the path in the way of that a teacher might. But our companions, our friends can be that. It's true that those who aren't necessarily in the position of a teacher, but just the support. And also if they can help with point out our shortcomings and inspire us to keep our sila well and inspire us to delve more deeply into the teachings. So, and just coming together like this is helpful. It supports us on the path. So I'd like to offer this for your consideration, and hoping that you have good companions and inspiring, admirable friends that can help you on the path. So if anyone has a question or comment, I'm going to open this up now, and I'm going to change the view. And at this, or do you want to?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So, should we, if I change it, do we?
Go to gallery view.
I'm going to change it to gallery. And if you don't want to be seen, you can turn your camera off. And this is being live streamed. Will we edit this part out, or? Anyway, so this may or may not be edited out. So you're welcome to share a comment. You can put a little virtual hand or turn on your camera if you're not visible to ask a question. At this point.
This is Richard. Can you hear me all right?
It's your sound is kind of wavering. You might need to get closer to the mic, or
Okay, is that better?
yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make a point. Now, if I speak and say something, and this is just my own view, and nobody needs to accept it or anything like that. But this idea of metta, friendship,
Mm-hmm.
The Brahma Vihara metta, which is usually translated as loving kindness, it's actually an abstract of metta. And it really means the love that you feel for like your best friend. So like if you're somewhere doing something and you look up and in the distance you see your best friend coming, that feeling of, oh wow, here comes my friend, my best friend, you know what I mean? So you're supposed to feel that boundlessly for all beings. And that's why friendship here, Buddha's talking about, right? Good friendship. And by good friend, it doesn't just mean I have a good friend, because even evil people have good friends, right? It means a good one that has goodness. If you look up the word, right? Kalyan, it means goodness, okay? So it means a friend that's good for you, like the Buddha. He's your good friend, you know what I mean? Because he's going to help you overcome dukkha and suffering of the world and attain nirvana. So anyways, that's just the point I wanted to make. But again, nobody has to accept it. It's just my viewpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That's really good to point out. And yeah, so Kalyanamitta, that is good friend. And the Lord Buddha said that he was the good friend. And the teachers, I think, as I was saying, is often how that's regarded, and it's regarded in a number of different ways depending on the circles you're in. And yeah, so metta, yeah, someone who's inspiring, someone who you really happy to be with. And the Kalyana part is yeah. So the inspiring of the ethical conduct, the inspiring of really pursuing the path. So yeah, so that's really good, Richard. Thank you for bringing up, I mean, kind of really emphasizing that, the metta part of it, and how, yeah, it's not just any old friend. could get the friends that can get us into trouble we want to avoid. Like so, and this is in the Mangala Sutta. It talks about associating with the wise and avoiding those of foolish ways. So I think this is very much related to what you're saying.
Oh, I remembered, there was one other thing I wanted to say. I forgot for a moment. When this monk, Magia, goes off by himself and he's not able to control his mind, the Buddha describes Ceto Vimukti, liberation of mind, as when you attain it, you can think any thought you want to think and not think any thought you don't want to think. And that's what he's pointing at, all right? That you need to develop yourself going in this direction, okay? That even if you get very, very advanced, you may occasionally still have some thought, like this monk is at, why am I still having these, lower type of thoughts, right? I'm aspiring to this high thing, and yet my mind is sometimes going to these lower thoughts. And until you get that full Ceto Vimukti, although it will decrease more and more and more and become subtler and subtler and subtler, you might occasionally have some, what you might think of as a negative thought or something like that. But it's with Ceto Vimukti where you get complete control over your mind, so you can think any thought that you want to think and not think any thought that you don't want to think. That's at that point. That's why it's considered a type of liberation, because you gain complete mastery of mind, and the only further mastery is Panavimukti, which is the final insight of seeing that frees yourself from craving, so that you attain nibbana. The fire of craving has gone out. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's very good detail to get into. Yeah, I really see this in this sutta, that the Buddha is seeing this young monk, and I mean, even the fact that the monk is going, wow, look at this delightful, beautiful mango grove. I really want, so this is like kind of like a lot of desire that has arisen, even just to find a place that's, beautiful and great to meditate. So there's this, so he still has, it's, his mind has not matured, and the Buddha's also kind of saying, no, it's not a good idea right now for you to go. And he's not heeding to the Buddha's. So the Buddha says, okay, well, go ahead, And so then he sees for himself, oh, okay, I still have quite a bit of work to do, and how important our spiritual companions are. And I also thought, well, he had the Lord Buddha as his companion, and he thinks he's going to go off in the mango grove and really do it, So, yeah, but that's really beautiful what you said about Ceto Vimukti, because, obviously this young monk hasn't gotten there yet, and then it is possible to get to a point where, we can direct our minds without being overcome by the hindrances. So this is what the teaching was about, actually. And then the end of the sutta, the Buddha gives, it's like I think there's 5. I didn't write down, so I'm not, you might have it in the sutta. Do you have the sutta in front of you? At the end, he talks about metta to overcome. Oh, okay, it's
Yes,
asubha.
yes, I have it right.
Asubha is the first one, I believe. Asubha to overcome lust, and metta to overcome hatred and aversion, and so there's 5 of them.
Mindfulness of breathing, to
Mindfulness.
stop wandering thoughts. Mindfulness of breathing to fix your mind so your mind doesn't wander in thought. That's number 3. For perception of impermanence developed to eradicate the conceit of I am. So this is very important, this aham, I am, because many times in Buddhism, people talk about getting rid of the I. Buddha never actually talks about getting rid of the I. He talks about getting rid of the I am. And the I am is manifest as this I am, this is myself, this is mine. And they have to do with the body and the senses and the 5 khandhas that you're misidentifying with. Okay, you're thinking, this I am, this body, this is myself, Richard, whatever, this is myself, and this is mine, this is my body. So it's very important, and when you study the suttas, to notice this. These are things that I've noticed by looking at the Pali and everything very carefully. That you sometimes you'll hear teachers saying you have to get rid of the I. Buddha doesn't say that. He says you have to get rid of the false identification with something. That's why he uses aham, I am something. I am this, I am that, whatever. But again, that's just my point. If people disagree and don't like that I said that, that's fine. Just forget I said it.
So he gives this teaching at the end, because this monk was, not so mature in the practice. So he gives him ways to overcome with the practice these afflictions he's been having. But the focus was the Kalyanamitta and why it's the whole of the holy life. And so, definitely the sense of self attached to the 5 khandhas. This is thinking, this is mine, this is myself. Ahang, this etam mama, etam asmi, etam atati. So that's this is mine. This is myself. Is the last one. This I am. This I am. The middle one is I am. Well, mine. This is mine. This I am, this is myself. So this is craving, conceit, and views. And then,
Well, there's one interesting thing about that pattern, that when one is caught up in it, it starts with, this is mine. This I am, this is myself. But Buddha also puts it in a different order. When one is freed of it, one sees the root problem is this I am, this is myself, this is mine. That's why I was putting it in that particular order. But if you look through the sutras, you'll see it's in one of 2 of those orders. And if you look at the sutta very carefully, you'll see when he's talking about someone caught up in it, it starts out with, because we're all caught up in an objective viewpoint. So that's why it's, this is mine, right? This object, this thing is mine, right? But when one's mind is freed, one sees that the root problem is really this misidentification, this I am. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah,
if you look
thank you.
around different sutras, you'll see that pattern.
Yeah, so there's, the Buddha cuts it in a number of different ways. Sometimes the ditthi, the self-view, he just focuses on one of them, or the craving, the mind, and that's the cause of suffering. So it can be either one, all three. Yeah, so any of those above. And so, so the sense of self wrapped up in these various ways. So being free of that. If we crack any one or all of those, then that's a path to liberation. Is to crack that open, to see it clearly, and crack it open, and then be able to disband. It's gonna just, whatever approach we take to it, if we really see it clearly and are able to kind of start to break it up, then this process is going to continue whether we we want it to or not. It's just a process, and it's not mine. It's not myself. It's not I am not that. It's none of those. So. Thank you for pointing this out, because this is, as I was saying, the whole of the holy life, because this I am is not there to be half of it, the other half. So it's a process that unfolds. So I'm wondering, it's getting close to time, if someone else has a comment, question. Seems like people are, I don't see a hand or you can unmute. Sometimes I miss the little virtual hand, but I don't see it. So, I thank you for your comments, Richard, and it's good to see everyone here that's attended. And, is anyone here? We have people in the live audience in the room. So, so we can end. And that's good, really, to mention that. Also, my comments are. This is my understanding, just as Richard was saying. It's a very important thing to mention, that this is my understanding of the teaching, and so. Yeah, you can agree or disagree with me also, but this is my understanding, and I'm hoping this is helpful to others, and hoping that we can all be Kalyanamitas to one another, and really inspire and help each other along the way. So we can end with homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. If you have an image that you have in your own dwelling, you can turn towards that, or you can turn towards, you can see over here the image of the Buddha, which I'm going to bow towards, so you can also bow it in this direction. Araham Sammasambuddho Bhagava Buddham bhagavantam abhivademi. Swakato bhagavata dhammo dhammam namasami. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho sangham namami. Thank you all again for your attendance and listening and participation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aya.
You're welcome.